You always want to be flexible, but you know, in every fantasy football draft, there's that one player you feel like you have to have. You don't want to leave any of your leagues without him. We're going to give you our guys in the early rounds that we're targeting as much as possible. Reminder that if you want to keep up to date with our rankings for the draft season, plus get access to bonus videos, bonus articles, and be first in line to join us with our mock drafts, which we're still doing up until week 1, well, you need to go to flockfantasy.com/endgame, get a subscription, do it now, and you have access to everything you need to dominate, which includes our redraft domination course. You might have already seen it for Dynasty or heard about it. Well, now we're doing it for redraft. Everything you need to know on how to win before you even get a look at the players. Now let's look at who we are targeting in the very early rounds. It's safe to say that there's a lot of risk, a lot of landmines, guys that we just don't know are worth that early ADP. But who is worth it in your mind?
Yeah, I'm planting my flag on Tony Pollard. I know I was talking about Tony Pollard a lot early in the offseason after the draft when the Cowboys did nothing. But then I've kind of been talking about some other running backs. But it's time to talk about Tony Pollard again, because really all he has to do this year is stay healthy. That's all he has to do, because he's going to get all the work in this backfield. I'm not worried about Malik Davis. I'm not worried about little Deuce Vaughn, who, I don't know if you saw that video on Twitter, hilarious. But anyways, there's no competition here for Tony Pollard. He's going to get all the touches. I love his role, what his role is going to be in this West Coast offense. I think they're going to dial up more passes for him. I do think his value as a pass catcher is a bit overstated, but I could see him getting around that 50 catch mark, which is more than enough. And if he can get 250, 260, 270 carries with his efficiency, his explosiveness, in an offense where defenses can't worry about the run, they have to worry about the pass, these weapons. Dak Prescott, we know this guy can hit a home run on any single play. He's got potential upside every time he touches the ball, can give you tremendous spike weeks with a nice floor in a great offense, still going kind of late in the second round. And I think that's too low for Tony Pollard. So if I'm going hero RB in my drafts, anchor RB, where I'm drafting one running back early, and I'm not getting Bijan in the first round, I will happily take Tony Pollard in the second.
I will say in the early rounds, especially we're talking round 1 and 2, you know it's tempting to get that running back you feel like is a workhorse, but we've seen now this is going to be the year, I guess, where we have no idea what's going to happen with your running backs. Are they going to play? They don't want to get traded. What's going to happen? I feel like there's a guy I really haven't even talked about in our videos, but you see in our mocks, it's a no-brainer that if you're not getting one of those top 5-6 picks, you're going to go and just get Travis Kelce and be happy. So you know what? Let me just go out and just make this declaration. In the first round, unless you get one of those elite wideouts, right, or Bijan Robinson, I think that's pretty much it. If you're past pick number 5, just get Travis Kelce and call it a day, and you'll be happy, because he basically is a wide receiver 1 in the tight end spot. So, you know, it feels weird taking a tight end that early, but it's Travis Kelce. And I'll say this also, you know, we've kind of just come out and said it's Kelce or bust in the early rounds. Now, I'm coming around on Mark Andrews early. I'm okay with him because, man, you're going to find out. I'm big on the Baltimore offense in general. I think Andrews will be a stud. But at the same time, I feel like Kelce is just such a slam dunk. And when you're at the end there of the first round, there is some risk. I mean, there's still some running backs you feel like you should take, but we've seen even the guys you feel are the safest possible. Hello, Jonathan Taylor last year, Jonathan Taylor this year. They're not always as safe as you think they are. And the wide receivers, I mean, look, I'm big on Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and guys like that. But there's a risk there too. We can't say 100% for sure that these guys will go off. And you find yourself with Kelce in your lap, I'm taking him. I'll take another receiver the next round, and that's it. I'm happy because he basically is a wide receiver 1. And then there is no risk with playing the late tight end game and, you know, hoping that a guy breaks out. And you know, I keep saying I'm not a huge fan of spending one of those kind of mid-round picks on a tight end, you know, the Hawkinsons, the Kittles. You just kind of left feeling like, yeah, he's fine, but you know what? I could have had more upside with a different position at that point in the draft. So at this point, I'm just going to say, again, past pick, usually 5, depending on how your draft goes. I'm just taking Kelce, and I'm not even thinking twice. Which leads me to another pick that you feel pretty good about, Another tight end?
Yeah, you just mentioned him, Mark Andrews. I know for most of the offseason, I've been saying Travis Kelce or bust, but I'm changing my tune to Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or bust, because I think we're just way too low on Mark Andrews. And I went back and I looked and did some research, and Mark Andrews was a lot better in the games with Lamar Jackson last year than I remembered, and I think a lot of people remembered. So Lamar Jackson basically played 12 games last year. He technically played 13, but he left very early in that 13th game. When you look at Mark Andrews in those games, twice he was the top scoring tight end, 4 times he was a top 5 tight end, 6 times he was a top 10 tight end, and 8 times he was a top 12 tight end. He was still very, very good last year. He just wasn't as good as he was the year before, and so people were kind of disappointed. I think we could see Mark Andrews get closer to the guy we saw 2 years ago than the guy we saw last year. You and I keep talking about it, and I think people are finally realizing it now that camp is going on and we're hearing these reports. This is going to be a totally different offense with Todd Monken. Not only are they going to pass it more, they're going to play faster. They're going to run more plays. It's not going to be this slow, plodding offense where they run the play clock down and just run the ball. They're going to throw it more. They're going to play faster. They're going to get the play in quicker. They're going to snap it quicker. They're going to run more plays. And you can look at this room and say, well, there's more competition here. I'm not worried about Odell Beckham coming off his second ACL surgery on the same knee. Rashad Bateman, who knows what's going to happen with that guy? Have we even seen this guy yet in training camp? How much are we even going to see him? I do, of course, love Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be great. But I really think it's going to be the Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews show this year. Maybe not early in the season, but eventually that's what we're going to see. Mark Andrews is still an elite tight end, a total stud in an offense that's going to actually feature the passing game, play at a faster pace, be way more dynamic, way better. I think Mark Andrews has a huge bounce back year, so he's the other tight end I will now target early.
And all of everything you just said about that Baltimore offense, and I think it's funny, people probably didn't expect an endgame video to start out with must-have players, 2 of them being tight ends, but this is where we're at, guys. This is just the reality telling you this is how we're approaching our drafts. Now let's get to the wide receivers, right? This is what you wanted. Again, talking about if you're anywhere beyond the middle of the first round, on the way back, if you happen to see the sun god sitting there available and you just don't think twice, you click on the draft button and you move on. Anywhere beyond like middle and the second round, it's a no-brainer. I almost don't even care who's left on the player list. But why? Why is the sun god going to be somebody you want in your drafts? Well, we saw what he did last year. No need to talk about what he can do, what he will do. And no, I'm not going to even mention the whole thing with the jugs machine and how he didn't drop a pass. I guess I just did. Look, here's the reality. He is a target hog. He will continue to be a target hog because I bet you can't even name more than one other receiver on the Detroit Lions who is going to play in the first half of the season. And all the people who are speculating on Jameson Williams, well, let me tell you, I'm completely out on Jameson Williams, first half, second half, any half. Because besides the suspension, he's continued to show his immaturity off the field. He's made some other stupid decisions and comments, getting in fights in practice because he's dropping the ball. And oh yeah, he's not looking very good when he practices because he's dropping the ball. He doesn't really have a clear sense of the playbook, how to run routes. There's no chemistry with Jared Goff. It seems like, I know it's too early to call him a bust. It doesn't seem like it's all shaping up for him to break out and be any sort of a threat to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you have the guys who are clearly only there for depth or the occasional deep ball, the Khalif Raymonds, the Josh Reynolds, guys like that. Marvin Jones, oh yeah, who's already hurt and he's old and didn't look very good last year despite having Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. There's nobody to threaten St. Brown's target share, and their starting tight end is going to be a rookie. Look, he might be good for a rookie tight end, but I don't think Laporta is going to cut into any of St. Brown's targets. Goff is going to go to him early, often, a lot, and all those times where he tripped right before the 2-yard line and we let Jamal Williams get the touchdown, you know what? He's going to see some positive touchdown regression because they don't have Jamal Williams, and they're going to target him in the end zone a little bit more. Teams are going to expect the short goal line carries. Well, maybe they switch it up and actually throw the ball a little bit more. This is 100 catches, 1,000 yards just in the bag, plus the possibility of positive touchdown regression. I think he's due for his best year yet. And then could we see a career year from a guy who didn't even play last year?
We might. I've been on the fence about Calvin Ridley this offseason, but I'm now all in on Calvin Ridley. Knew that he was an elite player, knew he was an elite route runner, a talented guy. That wasn't the issue. My worries were, hadn't played football in a year and a half, in a new system, in a new offense. Well, I'm not worried about those things anymore, because if you've seen the videos of him in practice, there was that video where Zay Jones ran a route, and then Calvin Ridley ran the same route, and it looked like he was running it at 2 speed compared to Zay Jones. I mean, you just see the difference in the talent and the ability here, and everything sounds like he's doing great in this offense. And this is an offense I am all in on this year, because last year already we saw Trevor Lawrence over 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. That was year one of the Doug Peterson system, almost like Trevor Lawrence's first year, to be honest. Year 2 in the system, I expect Trevor Lawrence to even increase those numbers. I could see 4,500 yards, mid-30 touchdowns. I still like Christian Kirk, a guy I've been talking about a lot, kind of in the middle-ish rounds there. But man, Calvin Ridley, to me, just what I've seen in the videos so far, just looks like he's on another level. He looks fully healthy. He looks good to go, like he stayed in shape. Kind of like Tony Pollard here. The only risk is, can he stay healthy coming back from not playing football in a year and a half? But if he does, I don't see how he doesn't smash in this offense. He's got the talent. He's got the quarterback. He's got the offensive-minded head coach. Everything is there for Calvin Ridley. So for me, he's kind of right there with Amari Cooper now as that guy. Once you get past the kind of second round, he's that next tier of wide receiver I will happily gamble on, in the third round of your drafts.
Well, let's keep it going. Talk about another Alabama wide receiver. Ridley is a guy we're on. Jameson Williams, clearly off. What about Devonta Smith? It's not really a question, is it? This guy would be the number 1 wideout on any other team for the most part. And look, this isn't a bold prediction or hot take kind of segment, but let me just say it wouldn't surprise me if Smith was the number 1 receiver in Philadelphia this year, because he's a guy who is just as talented as A.J. Brown. They're in a similar situation, obviously. I mean, this is a prolific offense no matter how you slice it. Best offensive line, one of the best quarterbacks, probably the best wide receiver duo in the league, at least top 3. And so Devonta Smith has everything that you would want. You don't have to worry about A.J. Brown because these guys coexisted just fine last year. And Devonta Smith is just going to get better now with another year of experience. And he is going to be somebody who is targeted heavily. He can get you the deep ball. He can do the intermediate routes. He's somebody who also could score even more touchdowns this coming season. Now, as far as where do you draft him, he's not a first-round player. I will just say that. In the second round, I find myself leaning more and more over guys like Higgins and other players. Well, maybe these receivers have less target competition, but I don't care because I think Smith is just as talented and he's going to be on a better overall situation. So Devonta Smith to me kind of feels like a lock in round 2 anywhere. He's kind of a set and forget. And honestly, even though we don't advocate playing it safe overall for your draft, in rounds 1 and 2, that's not the time to take those risks, right? That's the time where you want a guy who's got that high floor and potential to raise the ceiling. I think he could still raise his ceiling. We have not seen the best that he has to offer yet. That's who we're targeting in the first couple rounds of fantasy drafts. If you missed it, what about our middle round targets, the guys that we think are worth a shot? Check it out here.